session will be elaborated by our former Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Thailand, His Excellency Abhisit Vejjajiva. May I take this opportunity to cordially call upon His Excellency Abhisit Vejjajiva to address the conference reflections on stage.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little over 2 years ago, I stood here, then as head of government of Thailand, to inaugurate the first international conference on the role of Islamic studies in a post-globalized society. At that time, the conference was attended by about 500 participants from many regions around the world. We had policymakers, we had religious leaders, we had academics, leading academics from many countries who attended that conference. And indeed, for Thailand, it was significant because it's the first conference of the kind that was held with the support of the government and, equally important, supported by many local participants, both in terms of education institutions and also local leaders, religious and government. The rationale for holding such a conference was clear. With the changes that had been happening in the world, maybe now a little over 2 decades, we had hoped that the end of the Cold War would bring about prosperity and harmony. We had hoped that with the advance of technology, particularly information technology, we would be able to bring the peoples of the world closer together and living in peace and harmony, as well as enjoying unprecedented prosperity. Yet as the events in the world of the last 2 decades have proved, such hopes and aspirations were not realized. True, I think the people in the world today enjoy a higher standard of living on average, and we have certainly had undoubted benefits from the changes that come from globalization and the advancement of technology. But it's equally clear that the problems that mankind has faced, traditional problems, have not gone away. Poverty, conflicts, and violence. And everywhere in the world, we all look for possible solutions. Sometimes we concentrate on the economic aspect, and as you know, economic theories come and go, and we are still trapped in a cycle of boom and bust, and that the prosperity and incomes that have been created have not been shared equally among the peoples of the world. Gaps still exist between rich and poor countries. Gaps still exist within countries, and often this gives rise to tension. Sometimes we focus on a particular dimension or aspect of the causes of the problems. Ideologies, technology, or any factor that you wish to think of. But ultimately, the problems that have been created by human rest on beliefs and behavior. And ultimately, how we behave and what we believe will continue to be influenced by education and by our religions and faith. Which is why any conference that attaches importance and focuses on the need to develop religious studies and the relevance of that study to people's behavior will continue to be the key to solving the problems of mankind so that we can attain a better future and begin to find resolutions to some long-standing problems. Islam is no exception, and the Muslim world has much to contribute to the solutions to the problems that we are all facing. Thailand, as a country and as a society, we have also been through the problems that other countries have been through over the last couple of decades. Economic crisis and still an ongoing political tension and conflicts, and also, in the cases of the Deep South, continued violence. What we wanted to do when we decided to have the first international conference was really to demonstrate that in fact, for the majority of Thai people, for Thai society as a whole, and significantly the government of Thailand, we deeply care about peace and harmony. And we believe that peace and harmony can exist in a diverse environment. There is no point in trying to deny the existence of diversity, but somehow we must try to have our peoples and societies celebrate diversity and learn to live with each other. And even though the Muslim population here in Thailand does not consist of a majority of the whole of the population, and the number of Muslims may not be significant as compared to many other countries, even in this region, in ASEAN, and certainly around the world. But we have also proved in Thailand, in our history, that the Thai people want to celebrate diversity and to make sure that the Muslim and non-Muslim populations can live side by side and make contributions to society as a whole. Indeed, if you look at the history of Thailand, you will find that many leading Muslim personalities have made very vital contributions and held very important positions in Thailand. From the President of Parliament to Deputy Prime Minister to Foreign Minister to Army Chief. This proves that we can have diversity and that the population, whether they come from a majority or minority groups, have important roles to play and significant contributions to make. So when the conference was held, with the support of the government at the time led by me, we were very pleased that many of you, particularly from abroad, had come to attend and also shared your expertise and experience in the area of Islamic studies and the contributions these studies can make to the process of development as a whole. And to my mind, the first conference was an unqualified success. Success for the country because we made our stance clear about how we want to have a process of development that is inclusive, that encourages people to continue to live according to their faith, and at the same time allow diversity to blossom in our society. It was a success for the province of Pattani and the nearby provinces because we had once again made this province a center of Islamic studies with participation from people outside and also participation from local leaders. And it was a success for the university, which has fostered Islamic studies here on this campus and is about to lift its standard even further by having international experience and expertise being shared at this very campus. But most important, the success of that conference was reflected in the declaration that followed, whereby participants agreed that this conference, this kind of exercise, was useful and beneficial and therefore should be held on a regular basis. And that the conference had identified some key areas concerning the development of Islamic studies that would be very important as a signpost to future direction. I'm very pleased to hear that today I stand here at this second international conference, maybe better attended than last time, more participants coming also from abroad, and again very strong participation from local leaders, and following up on some of those areas that had been identified as crucial to the development of Islamic studies. Soon you will have the statement for the second conference, and I believe that there is a clear follow-up on three key features. First, when we speak of Islamic studies now, we hope to see what we call comprehensive Islamic studies. That Islamic studies must somehow encompass the sciences, so that the studies become relevant to all aspects of life for people who have had the benefit of such education. And here we're talking about connecting up with the natural sciences, the social sciences, so that people who have had the benefit of Islamic studies will be able to face the challenges of life in terms of economic and social challenges that they face, while at the same time do so according to their fundamental beliefs and faith, which will continue to guide their behavior and life. So I hope that the idea of developing or continuously developing this comprehensiveness of Islamic studies will be an important task, not just for academics, but also for policymakers and also with the participation and contributions of religious leaders. Secondly, another feature that is very much in need in order for all of us to face today's challenges is the concept of balance. And balance among many dimensions of differences and demands. Balance between the need to move ahead as far as material development is concerned, but at the same time not leaving behind the need to develop spiritually, for instance. Balance between people of different faiths, people of different backgrounds, ethnicities, so that we can have a diverse and yet harmonious society. So again, the concept of balance is another key feature that was identified, I think, from the previous conference, and I believe has been very much taken up in this conference also. And the third, no less important feature, of course, is that we must attain excellence. With so much competition, not just economic, but in terms of competition in standards of education, the development or further development of Islamic studies must aspire to excellence. And therefore, the need to share best practices, the need to share expertise and experience becomes very vital, so that all of us can benefit from this conference and therefore attain excellence, which will enable the idea that we have both comprehensive and balanced Islamic studies at the highest possible standard. And I'm glad to hear that apart from identifying and agreeing on these broad directions, this conference has also made an important step of making sure that what is being discussed here will actually produce practical results. And that is the setting up of a coordinating committee that will then be able to follow up on all the discussions that you have had over these last couple of days, and therefore make sure that they can get put into practice. And when we return, or you return in 2 years' time, make all of us even better prepared to take this conference even further ahead. So it remains really for me to first of all thank the host, Prince of Songkhla University, Pattani campus, for continuing to play this role of host to this very important international conference, and for me to thank all the participants. We very much appreciate the contributions you are making to Islamic studies, and more importantly, contributions to the further development of our attempts to achieve peace, harmony, and security in all of our societies, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. And I would end by saying that I vow to support your endeavors on a continuous basis. As I said, 2 years ago, I stood here as a member of government or head of government. Today, I am part of the opposition in our democratic country, but I still support your endeavors because these are endeavors that must cut across political differences and should be the goal of all political pursuits, which is peace, harmony, and security for all of our people. I thank you all very much and wish you all great success in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, His Excellency Abhisit Vejjajiva, for your vital reflections of the conference today. May I kindly invite Associate Professor Dr. Chusak Limsakun, President of Prince of Songkhla University, to present a token of appreciation to His Excellency Abhisit Vejjajiva on stage.